Cricket Club. Born in a tavern in 1845. The symbol of Kennington, we've seen London grow around us. Cricket's original champions, as Charles Alcock brought his vision to life and we cemented a reputation as a place of firsts. International football, FA Cup finals, international rugby, test matches, as well as where English pride came to die, before a great rivalry was born from its ashes. We share our feathers with royalty and pass on the honour of the brown cap through generations. We've seen England's best spend their careers with us.
Well, that's Jack Hobbs. Head and shoulders, yes, over all other living batsmen.
And the game's best finish under our gasometer. We've won 7 in a row thanks to Surrey, May, Barrington, Locke, Laker and the Bedser twins. In fact, we're well known for our famous siblings, but there's always been one family who've stood out. We saw the West Indies grip a nation on our doorstep, and a pioneer set records galore in the women's game. The end of the century brought a fresh take on Ik Dien, as Holyoake and his England teammates transformed us on the pitch. The changing of the oval skyline brought the greatest of finales.
There it is. England have regained the Ashes.
And an era of final test triumphs.
Alistair Cook has done it. A century in his last. Well played.
On our way to our own red ball century. We're one half of the game's oldest rivalry and its only London derby. Local players are always the lifeblood of our side. But the world's best are attracted to us too. We've come through tragedies. Now we're home to world champions and cricketers of the year. 175 years have passed. There's much more to come. This is Surrey County Cricket Club, heart of London, pride of the county, the grandest stage in world cricket.
Good morning, welcome to the 4th and final day between Surrey and Warwickshire here at the Kia Oval, where Surrey cruising towards victory. They bowled out Warwickshire in their second innings yesterday in just 58.6 overs, so in 59 overs I should say, for 209. Thanks to Kemar Roach, who was stunning after tea. He picked up 6 for 46, had stumps cartwheeling everywhere with reverse swing. On account of that, Surrey have only been set 89 for victory. They've reached 31 for none by the close with Burns and Sibley. Let's take a look at the highlights from yesterday. Then back here with the remainder of the chase. And caught behind. Well, that's what Jamal was searching for in his previous over. He beat Smith a couple of times with genuine outswingers and still. And that will be the century. He's been hard held across the first 20 minutes this morning, but that doesn't reflect 5th Surrey batter to get 100 this season. Shot on the up. I thought this might happen. As soon as he's reached 3 figures, the game changes. Dispatched Clark on this occasion, but you can see now they're going to hunt 350, look to 400. Shots. Clark. The only thing that was stopping that was the stumps at the non-striker's end, which it nearly clipped on the way through. Oh, chops on. So again, I just admire the way the Warwickshire have stuck to their task here. They've given nothing away with the exception of a couple of balls that have gone down the leg side for 4 with the keeper up to the stumps.
Pulled hard, just beats the man at short mid-wicket, and Abbott will pick up another boundary. Oh, it's a beautiful shot from Jamie Smith. Not much wrong with that delivery from Hannon Dolby, and he's just rocked back onto his back foot and just punched that.
Bang. 6. Make it deep cover now in response. And Smith, in response to that, goes straight up, out the middle of the blade, short, and shoveled away for 4. I say shoveled, it was hit well, but he did have a man to beat down the track. How many times have we seen Jamie Smith walk down at the first ball of an over and clunk it, as he's done here, all the way for 6 to the long boundary too. Again, first ball of the over, he just plays it so well. He realises first ball of the over is likely to be a bowler getting back into his rhythm again. Hits it so hard.
It's really well played here.
It's the lead of 100, thus the applause. And another milestone for Jamie Smith.
A rash shot.
Well, Bethel's induced a false shot from Sean Abbott. An inside edge just misses the leg stump, and that's run away to the fine leg boundary 4-4, which takes Surrey up to 450. And Abbott cuts it away past the man at backward point, and that will race away to the deep third boundary. He will pick up 4.
They're very equivalent players, really.
That's swept firmly by Abbott again, and that's gone to the fine leg boundary, and Sean Abbott reaches 50. Jamie Smith applauds his partner. Smith goes aerial, and Davies takes an excellent catch, running round from mid-off. Finally, Warwickshire have the breakthrough. They pick up. Oh, and that's another excellent catch. And Warwickshire have the final 2 Surrey wickets in the space of 4 deliveries. Dan Worrell, and he cuts that past the man at backward point, and that will just about reach the boundary. So he starts the innings with a boundary, so maybe there is something to gain.
Maybe there is.
Oh, that's another edge, this time an outside edge, and it races past Ollie Pope at first slip. Davies will come back for a second run, so Warwickshire.
Shot. And you can hear it clattering against the boundary boards down towards Lee Fortis's hut. Cut away again loose from Roach, and no chance for Abbott out on the boundary. Oh, now that looks extremely close and is given. Roach with the breakthrough. Yates survived an appeal in the last over, but Davies has to go this time. Roach right on the money. Shot. Thick outside edge, yes, but played late enough. There's a huge gap between third slip and backward point. Runs away down to the fence for 4. Oh, now then, that's rather brilliantly played, actually. It may look streaky, but it's a really deliberate shot, played with fine. Oh, not far away from mid-wicket. That's lofted little clip by Yates that speeds away to the boundary. Oh, he's gone after this as Rhodes. He's playing a very different knock. That's another nicely played shot by Yates. Really well timed. Get onto the square and it'll dribble into the shot. Nice firm push down the ground. It should make it to the boundary, and it does.
And Jordan Clark, as he so often does,
On cue.
breaks the Warwickshire partnership. Will Rhodes. Clark finds the outside edge again, but Yates does well to keep this one down. It runs away all along the ground for 4. He moves on to 45 now. Oh, driven nicely down the ground, and that'll be 4 more for Rob Yates.
That's his best shot.
Yates gets that away. We'll have a look at what the umpire signals. Yep. Nothing from the umpire, so that will be 50 for Rob Yates.
To the Irish entry. Oh, it's got him. Yates pulling a ball across the line, or attempting to at any rate. An injudicious shot. It looked so good for his 52. Oh, that's out. I thought so. That looked very, very straight. It was fuller this time, so height was not the issue, and Mosley looking to play across the line to the onside. Oh yes, that's a fine shot. Really good shot from Sam Hain. Punched off the back foot through the covers. That's a fine shot. That's going to race away.
Lovely looking stroke, that one.
Bit of width off it from Dan Worrell, and Ed Bernard, who was in fine form in the first innings, wasn't going to miss out on that one. Ooh, late movement away from Sam Hain, who wafts at it, gets it outside edge.
That's a great drive to finish. Hain, who's taken his time so far by necessity. That's his first boundary of the session, up to 26, 156 for 4.
Oh my goodness, what a catch that is! Sean Abbott in his follow through. We were wondering where a wicket was going to come from, and it's come from a moment of fielding genius. That is remarkable. Oh, he's got him. That is that shape. Bethel shouldering arms, stump out of the ground, a 6th wicket goes down.
Leg slip in. Oh, that's a beauty as well. Kemar Roach gives it the full celebration, and rightly so. He's bent back the off stump of Sam Hain. Oh, look at that. That is brilliant. We've seen 3 bits of individual brilliance from Kemar Roach, 3 times stumps out of the ground. Oh, the one ball at him, it's a full toss. It's given. It clearly wasn't what Worrell was going for. You could tell by the muted appeal, but it's good enough to get him in the book.
Sumptuous shot, 4 runs, over pitched. A shot you don't see that often necessarily. It's nicely tucked away by Sibley. Brings him his first runs, and 4 of them. And he's gone after that as Rory Burns, and he's clattered it away through deep backward point for 4. He didn't leave that alone. Oh, now that's got a leading edge, and it's evaded. Jamal will run away down through backward point for 4. That was certainly not where Sibley intended.
Okay.
And let's take a look at Rory Burns. They're not going to. They are going to walk off. They're happy with that.
That's where Surrey left it last night. 31 without loss, a target of 89, with Burns 19, Sibley 12, Adam Collins. I've got Daniel Norcross with me. 58 to win. It won't be a full day's cricket. It'll probably be about an hour's cricket for Surrey to knock this off, maybe a little bit more, but they've earned that position after enjoying a brilliant session with the ball after tea yesterday.
They really have. It was just a fabulous day's cricket for Surrey. Combination of Jamie Smith, Sean Abbott, and then Kemar Roach. But you may be wondering why Rob Yates is going to bowl, and I'll explain why in a moment.
Over-8 dramas.
Correctamundo, yes. Over-8 dramas.
You're right about it being just about the perfect day for Surrey yesterday. They went at 5.7 and over in that first stanza. Smith gets the 100. They clean the clock. They get to beyond 450 within 110 overs. Have a lead of 120 going into the second half. First ball of the last day.
They also sorted out their own over-8 because they were -1, so they've ended up on +1 and won't have to bowl again.
So that's dealt with as well. So and then after tea, just when you reach that stage when you're like, well, if Yates is batting nicely, or if you have a Barnard type character, and it was the Barnard caught and bowled, wasn't it, with Sean Abbott, which turned things around so quickly because that opened the door. Roach was sensational. The balls to Bethel, Hain and Jamal are all the types that end up on highlight reels forever. He ends up with 6 for 46, and then Hannon Dolby is the 9th and last. Oh, long hop. ninth and last man to fall. He was leg before wicket to Worrell, but they didn't have Craig Miles at their disposal, who was injured when celebrating a wicket the previous day. So 9 out, all out for 209, and suddenly, yes, leaving only 89. They had 8 overs to bat last night. There wasn't the extra half an hour available to them. We've since learnt, Daniel.
No, this is brilliant, isn't it? Every day's a school day. By the way, the clock has only just ticked over to 11, and we've had 3 balls already.
Love to see it.
I will try to explain. It's not difficult to explain, but it sort of makes your mind boggle somewhat. That there's yet another playing condition that we didn't know about.
You think we get good at this after a while? But
you would. I mean, the fact is that basically, I think you've got to be Ali Mitchell to get these things right. You've basically got to have read the rule book and absorbed it and remember it in the moment. And she's asking a lot of mere men.
Burns gets his first run of the day.
And the reason is this, okay? So if you were wondering, why didn't Surrey go out and just go a little bit harder, or even at the close of play there when they needed another 58 in 8 overs, they could have pretty reasonably done that. Well, you can't claim the extra half hour if your innings starts after the scheduled close of play. Who knew?
Yeah. Indeed.
And of course, Surrey's innings did start just after the scheduled close of play, because it took a little while to prize out Warwickshire. End of that over, by the way, 3 off it, 34 for none. But we were totally unaware. We were speculating, are they going to send out Jamie Smith and Dan Lawrence and have a bash? And the fact of the matter is that they would have had to score 89 in 8 overs, and so they took the very wise course of ensuring that they didn't get into any kind of pickle at all. And Warwickshire have sort of given up all hope, it seems to me, by bowling Yates and Bethel to start with. They've not tried a bit of Jamal and Hannon Dolby on what is a grey, overcast day. It feels quite bowly, but I think they've decided that they've got this -1. Yeah. Their best chance today of having a good day is to make sure they don't lose one of the 4 points that they've already got.
The quirk of the sport, isn't it, sometimes, where the actual result is too far gone. So the best they can hope for here is leaving with 4 points. Surrey have 8 already, and of course they'll, in all probability, they are going to add 16 to that for the full boat, the full 24.
I spent a long time staring at the county championship table yesterday.
Oh, did you now?
I did.
It reminds me a little bit of last year's, Daniel, in that Surrey got off to a good enough start that they always had that 24 point or thereabouts buffer. There was never a time when that gap between them and Essex was less than about 20 to 30 points in that region.
Yes.
And having 2 24 pointers, well, they'll go 24, 22 and 24 in 3 consecutive games. Yeah. Essex, of course, having a bad week last week, missing out altogether this week with their game off. So after 5 rounds, where will that put Surrey? Up by 21
ahead of Essex and 23 ahead of Somerset. And of course, ahead of Warwickshire, who began this game only 16 points behind. So it was a 16-pointer if Warwickshire had won this game, and they were certainly in with more than a sniff when Surrey's 8th wicket went down yesterday.
Well, I think when we came on to commentary yesterday, Daniel, to begin day 3, Surrey lost an early wicket.
Yep, Cameron Steele.
That was now Cameron Steele, that's right. And they were 332 for 7, which still left them 11 short of parity. And Warwickshire were getting everything right in that first half an hour. That was before the point where Smith moved from 98 to 100 and was looking a bit nervy.
Oh,
that's not nervy. Burns just smacks it over long on and thuds it into the advertising boards beneath us. 6 runs, and this, might not take long with the spinners in operation. If Warwickshire run through Surrey from there.
Well, after they get Jordan Clark out, with Surrey only have a lead of 6, they get the next wicket.
That's probably the reference point, isn't it? They get a wicket. The issue that Warwickshire had is the depth of Surrey means that Sean Abbott walking out at number 10, which is frankly absurd.
But he's still 1 wicket away, and he's mortal.
True.
And what they did when Sean Abbott came in, I'll come back to, has confounded me ever since it happened, and I dwelt on it quite a bit yesterday.
End of the over, 41 for none. They've got, what's that leave them? 48 to go.
Because they needed that 1 wicket, and they'd got a sort of becalmed Smith at the other end. He was going nowhere, and they suddenly put the field out to Jamie Smith and sort of semi-attacked Sean Abbott. The ball was still young. It was what, about 16, 15 overs old, if that, yeah? And
Yep, that's about right, yeah.
they just needed to attack at both ends and see what happens. You know?
I think Surrey's depth does that to teams. It's not the first time we've seen a side at the point in a match where it can go either way take the more conservative of the options. And maybe that's a lesson for teams that visit the Kia Oval through the rest of the year. You might get one good look through the course of 4 days. One look to really put the foot down and assert your authority. You have to take it. And in fairness to Warwickshire, that's exactly what they did after losing their 6th wicket on day one. They were 167 for 6. They had 3 consecutive partnerships of 50 plus for the 7th, 8th and 9th wickets and got themselves up to 343. I mean, the fact that Surrey are likely to win by 10 wickets here or 10 or 9 wickets with 2 sessions and change to spare from that point seems faintly ridiculous, but that's how quickly a team like Surrey can turn the screws.
That's the thing. I mean, this time yesterday, pretty much the game was, it was about to become even.
Yeah.
In about 15 minutes time, it was about to become even.
It was maybe a wicket away from imbalance, let's say, and then they got it. They got Cameron Steele, which made the game feel... I mean, the collapse at one stage, I think, was 5 for 41, rings a bell. Maybe even less than that. It might have been 5 for 20.
Well, they were 303 for 3, and then they were 349 for 8. So
yeah, there you go. 308. So it goes from 308 to 349.
Right.
So what's that? That's 41. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 for 41 after the new ball was taken. And the new ball at that stage, was only 13 overs old.
Yeah. And it's a little strange because if you look at the way Warwickshire batted...
Into the over, 42 for none.
They were aggressive. They came after Surrey. It was very impressive, especially the top order, Rob Yates. I thought Rhodes batted with a bit more impetus in the second innings. And by that stage, unfortunately, they'd conceded the lead of 121, so their conservatism had put them behind the 8 ball. Then they did actually come back, have a little bit of a fight, take the game to Surrey. And they got themselves into a position just before that absolutely spectacular catch from Sean Abbott, where they weren't at parity as such. They were 40 odd ahead, 4 down. But
big but.
The ball was soft, the pitch was placid, and it was entirely conceivable that they would have been batting to the end of the day and have a couple of wickets in hand, at least 2 or 3. And
it's what made that Ed Barnard moment so important, didn't it?
Because
that, if I recall correctly, that's just before Roach comes on, like 2 or 3 overs before Roach comes on for the decisive spell.
Yep.
If Barnard's there, and it's not a new batsman, because he went through Bethel first, didn't he, who'd only made 4. Crossed the line, but good enough for 1. Might get 2.
No, they're just going to
walk through these. If it's Barnard and Hayne there when Roach's spell starts, the probability of getting through that is greater, because of course you've got 2 step men and into something of a rhythm. And they were batting nicely together as well. They put on 75 at a decent clip, Barnard and Hayne. The 2, you would call them the 2 senior players in the middle order.
They took the sting out of the game, didn't they?
It genuinely felt like Surrey would be having something vaguely credible to be chasing on this final day, like a 200 odd or something like that. Even if they'd taken those consistent wickets, it was going to be more about could Surrey finish this off before lunch today with the ball. But
exactly.
Yes, that's why the Abbott intervention, the caught and bowled, which is such a good catch. I watched it a couple of times last night as well. You called it really well. It was sometimes a slow motion replay can not do full justice to something. Sometimes it does, but others it doesn't. This was one of the former where he had to move so quickly down to his toes, leaping forward.
It was an amazing catch. It was one of those ones where it takes your breath away when you see it live, because the gunshot crack of the ball off the bat for a start alerts you to the fact that that it's travelling.
Sure.
And then in a blur and a whir, it was in his hands.
End of the over, 4 from it, 46 for none. Target's 89.
And it was a key moment, absolutely. And then Roach comes in, takes the pitch out of play by making the ball swing extravagantly late and at pace. And look, that might have happened without the catch, and Surrey might have gone through them anyway, because the ball had just... It's funny, this Duke's ball, isn't it? It sort of has these moments of recalcitrance when it does absolutely nothing, and then it becomes extremely moody, almost at no warning at all. But Surrey are really good at identifying when it does do that and getting the right bowlers on. And of course having the right bowlers for the various situations that crop up.
Well, they weren't doing anything especially wrong. I mean, when Roach came on, as you said, there was a bit of sting going out of the game, but Surrey were doing their bit. They dragged the run rate back after tea. Just before tea, wasn't it? They had a good spell before tea where things settled down.
Yeah.
After Warwickshire got off to, I wouldn't say a flyer, but
four and a half
and over, as it was in the first innings. Fast enough that you have to set a couple of sweepers back. You can't have your 3 slips in a gully configuration at that point.
Suddenly the 121 felt a little skinnier.
Yeah.
And, moderate regret that they hadn't made it 170, 180.
Oh, first time we've seen that.
A Sibley reverse sweep.
Very nice. He's given that everything as well. Joins Burns in the 20s.
I mean, it's one of the many reasons why 4-day cricket is so captivating, because it changes in an instant, and it's also why the very best teams are able to turn games in the blink of an eye. In terms of the actual match, in an hour the game had gone from, oh, this could be really tight and go all the way to the end, to, oh, it looks like it could end tonight. It was
had there been an extra half an hour available, and had they decided they wanted to chase,
well, 16 overs it would have been
89 and 16 overs, you would have probably backed Surrey to have achieved that.
Under 6 and over, isn't it?
We're probably at the point of the season where the extra day off doesn't mean as much as it might have a couple of weeks ago when they were back to back to start the season, had a weekend off.
And in effect...
And they're home next week as well.
In effect, it is a day off for nearly their entire team.
Sure.
I mean, the fact that they've had to come to work, but, their bowling was done.
Well, their bowlers don't need to warm up, that's the key thing. 52 for none now. 1 ball left. No, that's not true. It's the end of the over. My apologies. 7 runs from it. Gentle start for us as well. 53 for none, the score.
So I mean, it doesn't really make that much difference at all. And Surrey just want to make absolutely sure that Warwickshire didn't get even the tiniest sniff.
I've got a feeling that might have been a 5 ball over. It says 2.7 there. I think it was. I might be wrong, but I think that might have been felt like they're 51 before the single. The ball didn't change. Anyway, it doesn't matter hugely. If anything, it helps Warwickshire if it was a 5 ball over. How's that over rate going, by the way? Where are they up to?
Well, it won't change until they finish the session.
Yeah.
But they've rattled through 5 overs in 12 minutes. So
yeah, they're doing
they'll be fine now.
Who is our match referee here? Let me check. We've got Steve Davis here. Steve Davis.
Interesting Davis.
Steve, he umpired. He umpired 57 Test matches. Steve Davis. He's in his early 70s now. Hello, Steve, if you're listening.
G'day, Steve.
It's possible you are. On the elite panel from Australia for a long time. Must have. I
didn't know he was.
Must have relocated over here. Or it could be a little wrinkle in cricket info and they've pulled the wrong name out. We saw Monkey Hornby allegedly played a first-class game the other week, and Monkey Hornby's been dead for 120 years.
That's good skills.
Yeah. Was involved in one of my favourite days of cricket ever, Monkey Hornby.
Yes.
And that'll run away for 4. Short boundary, down towards the players' race. Was there bat on it? There was. Yeah. Sibley gets to 28. Not far away now. 33. So it's possible one of these two could dash to a half century, but improbable. Yeah, Monkey Hornby was there was a riot at the SCG in 1879.
You love this, don't you?
It's one of my favourites. We're not going to go into great depth, but yes, it involved Monkey Hornby getting in a physical altercation with members of the crowd who were trying to punch on with him.
To be clear, he wasn't christened Monkey.
No. That's just, anyway.
And he got physical, didn't he?
Well, yeah, he did a citizen's arrest. he arrested 2 patrons and placed them in the MCC's dressing room at the SCG.
That's marvellous.
Well, it was called the Association Ground then, just before the SCG. But if you want to learn more, the SCG riot, look it up on the Final Word Cricket podcast. 1879 was when it all happened. It really did thaw relations. That's partly the reason why 1880 was so noteworthy. That gets that on the full but can't get it away. There was a big kerfuffle, 6 from the over. That one went for 6 balls, 58 for none, 31 to go for Surrey, as to how many games they would get on the 1880 tour. So Billy Murdoch took them to England in 1880, and they couldn't quite get the fixtures because there was so much antipathy after the riot in Sydney.
I see.
Which a young Banjo Patterson was there in the riot. Which it's
Banjo Patterson?
He was at the riot as a young lad.
Don't tell Mel Farrell, or she'll come and read me a poem.
Anyway, and they decided to play here instead. This was all part of it. So on the insistence of WG Grace, they'll get a couple here. They still wanted to have something of an official fixture, not just the county games, which a lot of them have been written off. And instead of using Lords, they used the Oval.
Well,
just WG said, "No, I know a guy. I'll sort it out. I'll sort it out. Leave it to me."
It's a very wise choice.
Anyway.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the Oval comes to be the oldest test ground in England, and most importantly, London.
Yeah, it's all part of it. It's all part of the story. It all drifts back in time.
I think it was at this ground that Michael Vaughan...
It's not out. He's a foot outside the line of the off stump when impact is made. But I admire the ambition from Rob Yates. Wants to get a wicket here, why wouldn't you?
Michael Vaughan first discovered the existence of Monkey Hornby thanks to Andy Zoltzman, and he couldn't quite get his head round it.
On the sweep here. Yes, Albert Nelson Monkey Hornby died in 1925. It's 100 years next year. We should recognise that.
Oh, yeah.
December 1925. The great Monkey. He was boxer as well, wasn't he? Champion boxer, I think I'm right in saying.
Would have helped in the riot.
Yes. He was protecting his captain. He was sort of they formed a guard around him.
Yeah.
That's all.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I dare say he would have had a fairly dim view of Australians, imagining that they were all feral, which was the sort of the kind of generalisation, wasn't it, about Australians around
Into
that
the
time?
over 60 for none after 15. He was a member of Parliament as well. There you go. He was. Oh no, sorry. He was the son of an MP. His brothers were also MPs in Blackburn.
Blackburn. Were they Whigs or Tories?
Doesn't say. Let's have a quick look here. What about Edward Hornby? What did he get up to? He was in the House of Commons from 1869 to 1874. Conservative Party politician.
Yes, doesn't entirely surprise me.
29 to go. Might just be you and me here. Are they going to get 29 runs in 13 minutes?
They're going to have 5 overs. 4 overs maybe.
Bethel to continue. How many overs have we had since the resumption of play?
So we've had 7.
7 in
18 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to call it 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
It shows what's possible.
Yeah, always tricky when you've when doing radio commentary. When Ravindra Jadeja is bowling, because I don't think he's ever bowled an over that's gone for longer than 75 seconds.
Yeah, we put the clock on him, didn't we?
Yeah, you feel sorry for the summariser. You get through the bit where, on radio, where you have to say a lot more about the ball itself. Sneaks it through. Nice shot from Sibley. Thought he batted really well in the first innings. Got 64, partnership of 88 with Burns for the first wicket and 74 with Pope for the second, but he was the most fluent of the three.
You got one that just got a little low on him, didn't he?
Yeah, for Miles. But you add this, a nice little red inker here to 64 in the first innings, 100 down at Kent, century against Somerset. It's turning into a most productive campaign for the man who was capped by Surrey a couple of weeks ago, Hampshire game, back to his boyhood club last year.
Well, the table actually slightly obscures how dominant Surrey's batting has been this year, because they didn't get any points at Lancashire because they didn't get the chance to bat for more than about 5 overs. So if you look at their other 4 games, they've got 16 batting bonus points in those other 4 matches, which is, in crude terms, that's averaging over 400, because it's 4 points per game now. It's not exactly how it's worked out, but you get the drift. And no one appears to be in particularly poor form. Ollie Pope's probably been the one yet really to fire. Oh,
That's not ideal, for the captain at least. Bethel gets himself a wicket. Down to the captain Davies at mid-on, who made no mistake, so he'll not be there at the end. Dismissed for 30, some 24 runs away from the target.
yeah, a little frustrating. He'd have wanted to be there at the end. He just didn't quite get the elevation on it, did he? And it went flat to Davies at mid-on. He was never going to mess that one up. And it just puts a little dent in what is going to be an inevitable victory. So yeah, to go back to Surrey's batting, Dan Lawrence has got 100, Burns and Sibley and Jamie Smith, and down the order, Jordan Clark, Sean Abbott now in his first game, pick up a half century, so it's all in pretty good working order. Ollie Pope's not played as many games and has no quite the same opportunities.
Just to round out something we were discussing before, Samo's with us, of course.
Is he? Of course.
Virtually. Virtual
Yeah,
Samo.
Virtual Samo. We all want one of them.
We should make a little hologram of him, bring him around with us. Like in Quantum Leap, we can pull him out.
Yeah, like, what's his name? Ziggy?
Ziggy was the machine and Al was the hologram.
That's right.
And Sam was the leaper. My favourite childhood TV show. Steve Davis has been match refereeing domestic cricket in both England and Australia since 2020. He doesn't see a winter.
Good lad.
He's the
He
modern
knows what
day
he's up
Richie
to.
Benno. I suppose I kind of do that as well, but this is more fun. Thank you, Samo. Hello, Steve. Steve, can we interview you? Maybe not on the stream, but if you're open to this, send a signal from the other side of the ground. I'll get you on my podcast.
The final word.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
That'd be good, I reckon. He had some controversial moments, Steve Davis, as they all do. They've been around for long enough.
Yeah, you have to remind me of them.
I think he gave Tendulkar out at Adelaide Oval. I hope I get this right. I might not get the interview otherwise.
Yeah.
Many years ago, which Indian fans still talk about, before he had ducked into a bouncer.
Oh yeah, well he was quite short.
Yeah. If that wasn't Steve Davis, I'm stuffed now. But anyway, point is, it's great to have him with us,
isn't it?
The domestic game in England. Very senior umpire upstairs refereeing and monitoring the over rate of Warwickshire. Can they get there? Can they keep their 4 points? Can they stay there?
It'd be interesting to talk to him about how he sees the difference between the two red ball competitions. You know, and they are very different. One's got 6 teams, and another's got 18.
Yeah, I'm up for this. Barat and I were trying quite hard to get Murray Erasmus to join us at some point. He's keen to do it at some point. He did his last Test match when we were in New Zealand a couple of months ago. Murray's an absolutely sensational fella.
Lovely man, isn't he?
Yeah. And he's one of these guys who, well, you've obviously spent some time with him as well. He does not care what people think. He just says what he reckons. And there's no party line or anything like that with Murray Erasmus. But they're not allowed to do interviews when they're in series, so you're not really with them.
Right.
You know, these guys on the elite panel. Take Richard Kettleborough, for example. You see him all the time, but he's always in the middle of an ICC engagement, so he's not allowed to do media, which is quite frustrating. He's got good chat as well. Leg stump line to finish. Yates completes a maiden, 65 for 1.
Yes, it was I was interviewing the 4 Antiguan Knights, and Richie Richardson's a match referee. And, I was told, you know, I can ask him about Antigua and rum, and the past, but I mustn't ask him about the West Indies prospects in the T20 World Cup. The other 3 were allowed to opine, but you know, he wasn't allowed to speculate as to how the tournament might unfold. You know, so there are certain barriers. Now this is a kind of exactly what Ollie Pope doesn't need, really, isn't it? He's got to come out with 24 more needed to win. He's facing spin.
Yeah, not a huge lot of upside for him,
No.
is it?
No, there's almost no upside, really.
Remember in Australia, we were in that World Cup final in India last year, when I think scores were level, when Glenn Maxwell walked out, and I'm like, well, this could go one of 2 ways with Glenn. It's pretty well played by Pope. When you consider he's only faced 2 balls, to get down in position that early, one man to beat timing it to perfection off the mark with a boundary.
It's wonderfully deliberate, isn't he? He's placed that. He knows exactly where it is he wants to hit it, and he's hit it there.
Yeah.
Nicely timed. Gets right on top of the ball just as it bounces.
As it turned out, Maxwell hit that ball for 4, but it was just as likely he hit it straight in the air because he knew he was going to try and hit it for 4.
Yeah.
Or 6. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, yes. No, that was not. Yeah, that was not the question to be asked.
Little reverse.
Yeah, he's unfurling all the tricks here.
There's a good piece on Wisden.com. It was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, hosted by Yaz Rana.
Yes, very good.
Where they did the unpicking of Ollie Pope's technique. Unpicking is the wrong word. The analysis of his technique over time, which I can recommend. There's a video, there's some clips floating around on socials as well, where he's quite open about how he's felt when making changes and how different he feels in the crease, how he sets up, not just with his feet but his knees as well, seems to be feeling more confident in his game. Remembering he was plucked so young, ended the over 4 from it, 69 for 1, 20 away to bat number 6 in that 2018 series against India, and that was high octane, wasn't it? That was a proper series. It doesn't look it because England won 4-1, but it could have been 3-2
it was the weirdest 4-1.
Yeah.
It was a really good series. 2 very closely matched teams. Yeah, that was a tough baptism. He does think a lot about his game, which is a good thing. I like a thinking cricketer. And he's very articulate about it. I mean, he has got into sort of scrapes of his own making in that way, exactly where he's going to stand. Famous in the last away Ashes.
Yeah, that Hobart test when it all kind of... And he wasn't the only one. That Hobart test was... I mean, that second innings was abject. I mean, I get it, by the way. We were all...
Wheels fall off, don't they?
We were all feeling out there, and I'm not being... Obviously, it's a privilege to be out doing these jobs, single taken to mid-wicket, but I've never been in an international series where we'd hit a point where everyone wanted to go home more because of the COVID restrictions, and it was... I mean, Stuart Broad talked about the series being voided, you might recall. I understand what he meant. It didn't feel like an Ashes series. It felt like an exhibition series, a lot of it.
Yeah.
The worst part of that was Hobart that final day, which really was just 1 foot on the plane.
Well, I mean, Ollie Robinson almost literally had 1 foot in the airport when he played the shot. That's a brilliant picture of the last wicket to fall.
I've just been told I've made a terrible mistake. Andrew Sampson has told me that it was Daryl Harper, not Steve Davis.
Oh.
Sorry, Steve. I really am very sorry about that. Just went with my gut.
All Australian umpires are the same to you, Colin.
Of course it was Daryl Harper. Now Sammo said, of course it was Daryl Harper. Anyway.
We can forgive you.
Yeah. Lots of Daryls and Steves.
Daryl Hare.
Yeah.
He had a moment here, didn't he?
He did quite the moment here at the Oval in 2006. Thrown up to finish and put away. So Pope was keen to get to the pitch of it and hit through the line, and he's not going to noodle to the target of 89. He's going to get there in boundary. 74 for 1, 15 to go.
Lovely use of the feet, this, isn't it? And this is... It's a beautiful driver of the ball, is Ollie Pope. When his mind is clear and everything's working, he's a sumptuous player to watch. Surrey are very fortunate in the attractive nature of their batting. I showed my wife Catherine a montage of Jamie Smith yesterday. First, she's into her biomechanics, is my wife. She said, his torso is so brilliantly rigid.
I can hear her saying that.
And you know, it's sort of, I see it as balance, but she was sort of looking at his torso and thinking that's just perfect. Somewhat emasculating when your wife is drooling over someone's technique.
Yeah, fawning over a 23-year-old's torso.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was appreciating the shots as well. I mean,
I'm sure. That's well placed. That's a good shot from Sibley. I know we've banged on about it a little bit across the 3 home games this season, but he does look very good. He's hit a point in his career where he's looking more and more fluent. That can only be a good thing for not only Surrey in the short term, but at age 28, the chance to put pressure on to get back in that England team at some stage.
Well, it's a big feature of this season. I've just seen him off driving and cover driving so much, and with such confidence and fluency. So it's a really good sign.
11 away.
Now I was going to just maybe we'll do it at the end of the game. Have a quick run round the county championship, so we
maybe
can
now.
see.
I think we've got 11 runs to go. Let's try and get a
okay.
sense of it now. We'll be into our. Ooh, it's hit hard. We'll be in, well stops really. So we'll be well into our post-game wrap by the time the final ball's bowled. So you better tell us where they're.
So Durham are 430 for 9. They're still batting against Hampshire. That game will surely be a draw, barring something remarkable happening there, because it's a flat old deck at Southampton, and Durham are still 73 runs behind. And it'll be a relatively high scoring draw, but not as high as you might think in terms of points, because I don't think either side got the full bowling points, and I don't think they got the full batting points either. It's been quite slow stuff. So Durham, I believe, got 2 batting points. And 1 bowling point.
Shot again, albeit for 1.
So they'll end up with 11 points from that game. Bearing in mind Surrey are going to get 24, so that's a 13-point swing. Meanwhile, Hampshire will get 12 points. So that's, again, 12-point improvement for Surrey. Notts against Lancashire, and Lancashire are in bother. I know we're only 5 games into the season, but they are still 45 runs behind Nottinghamshire. They've only got 4 wickets in hand. They're sat at the foot of the table. They also didn't pick up very many in the way of bonus points. 2 batting points. And 2 bowling points. So they could come out of that game with only 4 points, and they would be therefore rooted to the table, bottom of the table. Nottinghamshire, on the other hand,
Deflection off the short leg, was it? Maybe. Either way, ends up at mid-wicket.
they're going to pick up 22 points from that game. So they're the one side in this round that'll have kept pace with Surrey. But they started this round 28 points behind, so they're going to be 30 points behind at the end of this, despite that win.
Tough beat.
And the last game in Division 1 to tell you about.
Dragged down, not put away.
Is Kent against Worcestershire, and that could yet bring a result, because Kent are 379 for 8 in response to Worcestershire's 618 for 7 for 7. They've only
following on, yeah.
They've only had 15. Well, they're not following on yet.
But they will be when they're all out.
Probably.
Yeah.
But only 15 wickets have gone down in 3 days. So
wouldn't that be an extraordinary thing if Worcestershire can enforce the follow on and manufacture something in the last couple of sessions? I mean, it was clearly very special what they achieved away from home on the first couple of days, racking up 600 plus for all the reasons that have been well documented. There was a beautiful piece on Quick Info by Andrew Miller, which just spoke about not so much that, but about being there and about the joy of Canterbury as a venue, but the wider context.
Yeah.
Passing of Josh Baker and being able to respond the way they have this week is highly commendable from a side that, remember, only came up from Division 2 this season.
They've got a bit of work to do, though, because they've got to try and find a way to take 12 wickets on a featherbed. And Kent are still batting, so.
And there are a lot of miles in the legs, I guess, as well. From
but they bowled 138.3 overs. So what they're asking is to bowl upwards of 200 overs.
They're asking Kent to do something daft on the final day. Who have they got in their attack this week, Worcester?
Leach, Smith, Gibbon, Holder.
seem heavier than
weight. Picked up 3 for 51.
So down towards the rope at deep backward square. They'll get a couple more. Well kept in by Dan Mosley. We're within 10 now, well within 10. 7 away from the target. So Sibley on 50 watch here. 6 for the 50 and 7 for the win. So there are a few routes to this for him. Will he take on Bethel here? Gap at deep mid-wicket. Happy to just take the single and give the strike back to Pope. But it doesn't mean if they get within, even if with 1 run to win, even with scores level, Sibley's still a chance here. So there's no need to snatch at it from Surrey's perspective. If Sibley reaching 50 is a priority, it probably isn't given his experience. But you know.
It's nice to have another one notched up in that column, isn't it?
Never hurts. It is a numbers game at some deep level. Ooh, that nearly snuck through. Indeed, it did sneak through. Off the inside edge, it nearly ran back onto the leg stump. And remembering for Pope, who did get a 40 in the first innings, but a modest run to this stage of the season, he really wants to be there when these runs are knocked off. That's a better approach for him using his feet. England's vice-captain.
Yeah, for Sibley here, it's a single, keep strike, hit the 4, walk off.
Yeah, no need to get greedy here and try and pump him for 6, although it is the short boundary on the leg side. And maybe Warwickshire are just mindful of that a wee bit. Deep point comes up. Game within a game stuff. 2 balls left in the over.
I'd want the red ink and more, I think. He struck enough 50s and 100s in his time. I mean, 100 would be a bit different. But, if they're not out, it's what he does to his average.
Yes, he's got 61 scores above 50 in first-class cricket. It'll be Pope getting the strike back, though. 5 to win. So 21 hundreds and 40 other scores above 50. I think we're getting closer to that being the convention, by the way. I know that Andy Zaltzman's insistent upon it, and we are now too, that forget about this hundreds and 50s. And you've got to cite how many scores above 50 and then go to how many of those are hundreds.
Became hundreds, yeah.
So could make it, well, he got one in the first innings, so he's, that wouldn't have been updated on Cricinfo as yet. So 62 times he's passed 50, could be 63 here. Average of near enough to 40 at this level. A couple of test hundreds in there, of course. An excellent one in South Africa. Pope on the pull, just for 1, does his job, gives the strike back. Now we're a boundary away. However, for Sibley, on 45, you would need to go the aerial route, or indeed knock another single out to the deep and get the strike back in the next over, or later this over.
There's still time for a faff, isn't there? There's still trying to bring in the leg slip.
I always find this funny when the results are foregone conclusion, but we will tweak. Especially when the over rate's a consideration. Anyway, they've probably done enough on that front this morning.
They've definitely done that. I mean, they've bowled 14 overs in 38 minutes.
Proof you can do it.
They were -1 before. They're probably about +3 now.
Yeah, proof you can get through your overs when you want to. That's a conversation that we will surely pick up again another day. Round for 1.
Still a bit of a crowd in. I
was going to say that it's the Surrey Ultras up there, isn't it?
Yes.
Up in the corner of the
Peter May boys.
Peter May stand. Peter May boys, sorry. I think on Twitter there's about, I don't know, 15 of them up there who are there every single day with their flags. Pope laps it away. If it reaches the rope, it's the win. Indeed, if they come for a third, it will be 2. They're happy with the second. No, they're coming back for the third. That will be that. So Ollie Pope strikes the winning runs for Surrey. They've got the full 24 points available here at the Kia Oval. Comprehensive victors over Warwickshire by 9 wickets, and they return to the top of the table in their quest to win 3 on the trot. Daniel Norcross.
A really good game of cricket. Warwickshire went toe-to-toe with Surrey, really, for the best part of 2 and a half days. But then it was individual performances from Jamie Smith and Kemar Roach that took the game away, but Surrey, pretty much everybody in their side will have something they can look back on with pleasure. Rory Burns and Sibley have both batted well and given Surrey 2 very good starts. Dan Lawrence has taken a wicket, another wicket for spin. Obviously Sean Abbott with a fine 50 and a wicket as well on his return. Kemar Roach with that 6 for Jordan Clark with 4 for. It's been a proper team effort all round, and although Warwickshire, as I say, they were toe to toe with Surrey when Surrey only had a lead of 6 with just 2 wickets in hand, but from around about this point yesterday to now, in those 24 hours or 7 hours or so of playing time, Surrey have been absolutely dominant, blowing Warwickshire away for just 209, albeit without Craig Miles, and then knocking the runs off easily. We should send some sympathies to Warwickshire because they've come into this game depleted of some bowling resources. As of Chris Rushworth, for example, not available, and then Craig Miles going down.
Hassan Ali on national duty.
Exactly, and Craig Miles might have made the difference when Surrey had that slender lead. You never know, and of course he might have been able to make a bit of a contribution with the bat. But come what may, you've got to say that it's another really good performance from Surrey, who look in superb nick. After the first game was drawn because there was nothing, they couldn't force a result up at Lancashire, and then the second game at Somerset they so nearly won despite a fairly flat deck and a Kookaburra ball and everybody else in the country drawing. I suppose that should have been the intimation of what we knew all along. When they nearly won that game against Somerset, they've now won their last 3, and they've won them well, getting 24, 22 and 24 points. They sit aloft the top of the county championship with a healthy lead of 21 points over Essex, 23 points over Somerset. I haven't done the maths over Warwickshire because they've, well, I said 36 points, I think, over Warwickshire, because they've beaten them by 20 points here, and they had a 16-point start. Nottinghamshire will have crept up a little bit, but they've gained 2 points over Nottinghamshire, so they've got a lead of them of around about 29 points. So they've got a nice buffer, and they've got a home game coming up against Worcestershire. There's a bit more weather around for that game, a hint of showers and whatnot. So I wonder if Surrey win the toss, you will expect them to bowl. They've done it 9 times in a row now. They're very aggressive. They want to get into their work, don't they? They want to take those 20 wickets as quickly as they can. And you've just got to say their batting is looking in really good fettle. 464 here, yet another player making a century, and Jamie Smith, who was different gravy. And you know, it's hard to see who's gonna just bowl them out. You know, they have ever such slight wobbles, but they've got such depth, and who knows, they can also perhaps tinker with the side. When Worcestershire comes, some guys might be rested, others might be fit to come back in. We'll have a look. Tom Laws wasn't available for this game. Gus Atkinson, Jamie Overton, these are all players that may be coming back in before long.
And it just sequences so nicely for them that a game against Hampshire that followed the victory over Kent started a run of 3 home games in a row for Surrey, and claiming 20, what is it? They've claimed 24 here, 22 in the previous game, so only effectively dropping 2 points across 2 fixtures at home, and then the chance to play Worcestershire next week, who they'll go in raging hot favourites against. If they can do similar in that fixture across the 4 days that begins on Friday, then they'll not only have a buffer, but they'll have the kind of lead that you can consolidate through the middle portion of the season. And we've seen how effective Surrey were at that last year, and they just look so formidable when those big moments are there to be won. It's, I think, a lesson this week. Warwickshire were in this game for more than they weren't. If you look at it in a session-by-session breakdown, there were more than enough moments in this game where Warwickshire had the opportunity. Ed Barnard's 108, the fact that they won the final session so comprehensively on day one, where they took the score up to 318 from 195, losing only 2 wickets, reaching 343 the first time around. Then at one stage having Surrey behind the 8 ball ever so slightly as play resumed yesterday, but it doesn't take long for Surrey, when, I wouldn't say up against it, but just when the game is nearing parity, to assert their authority. And
it was a really, really good partnership. I think it spooked Warwickshire. I don't think they bowled particularly well during it. I don't think their plans were particularly good, but you've got to give a lot of credit to Surrey for sort of forcing those mistakes, haven't you? And Kemar Roach has not had a great season by his standards yet. He hadn't really fired, but yesterday you saw exactly what a point of difference he can be, because with fast medium induckers, when a ball is 50 odd overs old, suddenly that point in the game when things can drift, Surrey have got a point of difference with him. They've got that point of difference with Worrell as well. They've got a wonderfully varied bowling attack, and it's just too much for a lot of sides to withstand over the course of 4 days.
So we see here the analysis. Warwickshire all out for 343. Surrey in reply 464, taking a 121 run lead into the second half of the game. Bowled out Warwickshire in 59 overs yesterday thanks to Kemar Roach. Magic spell, 6 for 46 and set 89 for victory. Got there for the loss of just 1 wicket. Dom Sibley unbeaten on 46 when the winning runs were struck. Surrey by 9 wickets to the top of the table. Before we break here at the Kia Oval, let's indulge in some highlights. First of all, Jamie Smith, his 150. Let's take a look at that from yesterday and the day before.
And that's a lovely looking off drive from Jamie Smith. Last ball before tee, and it brings a boundary.
Yeah, nicely steered there by Smith. Opened up the face, used the depth of the crease, gets it down to the rope, moves into double figures. That's 4 runs. That's the 3rd time they've been able to find that short rope since tee, and
Much as they can. Shot. Great shot.
Gorgeous.
Sobers. Oh, another wonderful shot. Down the ground this time. I thought Hanan Dolby might get to it, but it was hit with too much power.
ideally. Oh, there we go. Have that. Clunk. Flat. Lifted. Going to hear that bang again. The only question, did it go all the way? Yep, it did. Into the seats. Bowl fast, hostile left arm in the nets. Driving here. Gap found again. Smith with precision placement.
Overs than he probably thought he would do at the start of his England career.
Turned into a full toss by Smith. Misfield at cover. Can't afford that with the short boundary. Oh, top edge. Over Burgess, the keeper. And down to the rope. It flies. Smith to 65. Barnard not happy. Again to the short boundary, and he can just swing that way with freedom. It goes all the way. I don't think he middled that. It sounded like it was near enough off the top edge, but... oh, what a shot. Shot of this session. He's played a couple of those where he just says, you know what, I'm going to walk at you. I don't really care. Does up to 77.
But it's sumptuous. There is an elegance there as well. It's not just.
Well, striking like that.
Get that
what a
before,
shot that is.
Get that before the close.
4 more. It's a crunching shot from Smith. Oh, be still my beating heart. What a shot that is.
Still. And that will be the century. He's been hard held across the first 20 minutes this morning, but that doesn't reflect.
Oh, that's a beautiful shot from Jamie Smith. Not much wrong with that delivery.
Short and shoveled away for 4. I say shoveled, it was hit well, but down the track. How many times have we seen Jamie Smith walk down at the first ball of an over? Oh, again, first ball of the over. He just plays it so well. Hits it so hard.
It's really well played here.
It's the lead of 100, thus the applause. And another milestone for Jamie Smith. Jamie Smith 155 from 179 balls, 18 fours, 3 sixes, some most important partnerships, not least the one that he put on with Abbott, worth 115 for the 9th wicket to make sure that Surrey would take that imposing lead. Almost certainly the player of the match, although I do note that we're about to see a package from another contender for it. But Jamie Smith just continues to reach the stage in his career when where it's inevitable that he's going to take the next step. It's about when he's going to make it as far as reaching test honours for England.
Yeah, people ask, how do you get him in the team? How do you get him in that side? Which has already got Brooke and it's got Pope and it's got Root. I don't think that's a question to ask. I think the fact is he's going to play for England. He's too good not to.
Yeah.
And now he's actually. We're seeing his potential. We've seen cameos, we've seen moments, we've seen good hundreds, of course we have. But it just felt to me like he's got up a different gear, and that innings was one of the best I've seen here. It was absolutely sensational.
It was his 9th in first-class cricket, first against Warwickshire, 3rd at the Keir Oval, and as you say, there'll be many more to come. The other match-winning performance, Kemo Roach in the first innings picked up 2 for 81 and bowled quite nicely, but the second innings, after there was that crucial breakthrough, Ed Barnard, you can see, made 108 in the first innings. He was on 44 when Sean Abbott had him caught and bowled. It opened the door to Kemo Roach. He already had 3 wickets in his pocket by that point. The next 3 were absolutely outstanding, knocking over Bethel, Hayne and Jamal. And let's take a look at those.
It was just a brilliant exhibition, wasn't it, of fast, threatening swing bowling. And he's attacking the stumps all the time. That was the first wicket to go. It was Alex Davis, LBW, on the front foot. Nearly had in the ball before, if you recall. And that was not the length to pull from Rob Yates, who played a really nice innings. It was lovely to watch, but he was suckered into a shot that wasn't on. That was plumb. Dan Mosley absolutely bang in front from round the wicket. That's the thing. He can bowl round the wicket to the left hand. He's happy over the wicket to the right.
This is the fun bit.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. The timbers.
This is the fun stuff. So
timbers.
All 3 balls have come back a long way. I mean, that's on the angle. That's less about the reverse. How about this though? Sam Hayne well set, wide of the crease, angling in towards middle, then straightening at the last moment. The full celebration to recognise his 5-wicket bag here at the Oval.
Twisted blood that was, wasn't it?
This is just a screamer. Bang! Middle stump out the ground. He nearly did it the ball before it with a Yorker. Gave himself a little bit more length to work with there. And yes, that finished the job for him. 6-4-46 from 14 overs with 4 maidens. Kemo Roach, he's been part of Surrey's championship winning campaigns in both 2022, 2023. And after having started the season with not as many wickets as he would have liked, averaging in the 40s coming into this week, he was due for a match-winning hand.
Yep, he's warmed up all right, and it was just great. It was just watching that package. It was scintillating stuff, wasn't it? The thing I think that we sometimes lose sight of is how lucky we are here at Surrey. Surrey are winning games, yeah, and for supporters that can often be what matters most of all. But I think we've just shown you in those 2 packages there that they're winning with such high quality, and it's so entertaining. You've seen that 100 from Jamie Smith, which is just absolutely top draw, and there to be here yesterday and see those stumps flying everywhere on a lovely warm Sunday with a slightly lubricated crowd. The atmosphere was fantastic. It's just, we're blessed, Colo, we're blessed, and we don't have to wait too long till we do it all again.
I was going to say exactly that. On Friday morning at 11:15 it'll be you and me and the usual team. So to everyone who's been part of it this week, apologies if I miss anyone here. We've had Dean Wilson, we've had Yaz Rana, we've had Katja Whitney, we've had Matt Roller, we've had you're mouthing names at me.
Taha
Hashim.
We've also had some guests. We've had Alex Stewart, don't forget.
The gaffer was in, wasn't he?
The gaffer was here. We've got to thank our producers, Jake, Sharky, Mark Sharman, John Surtees.
John Surtees, the czar of cricket broadcasting here at the Keir Oval.
You mentioned Dino.
I think you
did mention Dino.
A lot of heavy lifting on the days that we didn't have the full board of commentators. He did a great job. And Charlie Reynolds, who was on Saturday as well.
Yeah.
If I have missed anyone, it's purely down to the fact that we're ready for a cup of tea. We're back for Worcester on Friday morning. In this run of home games for Surrey. Thank you for your company across the course of the last 4 days. Surrey victorious over Worcestershire? Over Warwickshire. Worcestershire next week. Over Warwickshire by some 9 wickets. Till then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.